Hey everyone, welcome back to DevOps Talk. In this session, we are going to dive deeper and really understand what Docker actually is. So we'll start with a quick recap of what Docker is, what the Docker platform provides, and the kinds of things you can use Docker for in real world scenarios. Right. But the main focus of the session will be on Docker architecture, and Docker objects. So these two parts will be the main focus. And what is Docker? What is Docker as a platform that we have covered in the previous session? But we will have a small recap. Alright. By the end of this video, you will have a clear mental picture of how Docker works behind the scenes and how every piece connects when you build and run the containers. Alright, so let's get started and break down Docker from the inside out. So what is Docker? We already know Docker is an open platform for developing, shipping and running applications. Docker enables you to separate your application from your infrastructure so you can deliver software quickly. With Docker, you can manage your infrastructure in the same way as you manage your application. By taking advantage of Docker's methodologies for shipping, testing, and deploying code, you can significantly reduce the delay between writing code and running it in production. So this thing we already have covered, and we already gone through the details how Docker works and all. So if you haven't watched the previous video, just go to the previous video and watch the first one, then you will be understand this in a better way. Alright, what Docker is a platform? Docker provides the ability to package and run application in a loosely isolated environment called a container. What is a container? Again, I have covered that. So the isolation and security lets you run many containers simultaneously on a given host. Containers are lightweight and contain everything needed to run the application. Why? Because it include all the packages, all the libraries and all the dependencies in the image. So from the image you will build the container, right? And it uses the same kernel, so that's why it is lightweight and contain everything needed to run the application. So you don't need to rely on what's installed on the host. You can share the containers while you work, and be sure that everyone you share with gets the same container that works in the same way. Docker provides tooling and platform to manage the life cycle of your containers. Develop your application and its supporting components using containers. The container become the unit for distributing and testing your application. When you are ready, deploy your application into your production environment as a container or an orchestrated service. This works the same whether your production environment is a local data center or cloud provider or a hybrid of the two. So now you know how Docker as a platform behaves and how it is useful. What can I use Docker for? This also I have covered. Anyway, I'll just read out. Docker streamlines the development lifecycle by allowing developers to work in a standardized environments using local containers, which provide your application and services. Containers are great for continuous integration and continuous delivery workflows. That means CI/CD workflows. So consider the following example scenarios. Let's say your developers write a code locally and share their work with their colleagues using Docker containers. They use Docker to push their application into a test environment and run automated and manual tests. When developers find bugs, they can fix them in the development environment and redeploy them to the test environment for testing and validation. When testing is complete, getting the fix to the customer as simple as pushing the updated image to the production environment. So that's why this is fast and having consistent delivery of our application, because it has these kind of features which I have given the example. Then responsive deployment and scaling. Docker's container based platform allows for highly portable workloads. Docker containers can run on a developer's local laptop, on physical or virtual machine in a data center, on cloud providers, or in a mixture of environments. So Docker can run everywhere, right? So Docker's portability and lightweight nature also make it easy to dynamically manage workloads, scaling up or tearing down applications and service as business needs dictate. in near real time. So you can run more workloads on the same hardware. Docker is lightweight and fast. It provides a viable, cost-effective alternative to hypervisor-based virtual machines. So you can use more of your server capacity to achieve your business goal. Alright. So now is the good part, which is Docker architecture, which we will focus more on this session. Alright. So what is Docker architecture and how this works? So Docker uses a client and server architecture. The Docker client talks to the Docker daemon, which does the heavy lifting of building, running and distributing your Docker containers. I'll show you one diagram. In that diagram I can explain you in a better way. So as I said, Docker follows a client server architecture, which means it has two main components that work together, which is Docker client and Docker daemon. Also this is called as Docker engine. The Docker client is what you, the user, or who interact with Docker daemon. That means it's you. It is the command line tool. So Docker line is the command line tool or the Docker desktop interface where you type commands like Docker images, run, Docker build. So this is called Docker client. Whereas the Docker daemon is the background service. So this is a service in your system that does all the actual work. So Docker daemon is a service that does all the work. So it is responsible for building images, running containers and managing network and volumes. Alright. The client and the daemon can be on the same machine. So here this is the laptop or your local machine. In the same local machine, when you install Docker, your Docker client and Docker daemon can be in the same server, or the client can connect to a remote daemon running on another server. Let's say you have the client and your Docker daemon is running on a different system. That is also possible. So they can communicate through REST API either via Unix sockets in your local system. So in your local system, the Unix sockets is preferable. There is also another client called Docker Compose. Docker Compose is also another client which helps you define and manage multi-container application. What Docker Compose do? It will help you to define and manage multi-container application using simple YAML files. Why it is needed? Because it is easy to spin up complex setups with just one command. So we'll see what Docker Compose do. We'll see in the further sessions. But for now, you just understand what is Docker client and Docker daemon. So here is the full diagram. As part of Docker host, you can see this is Docker daemon, and in the we have client. Client is nothing but the utility from which can run Docker run, build, pull. So it will talk to Docker daemon, and Docker daemon will do the heavy workload like pulling the images, containers and all right. And this is the registry. So you will have images in Docker hub and extension plugins you can pull using Docker client. Your Docker client will talk to Docker daemon and your Docker daemon will do the action. So here is the same thing is mentioned. Docker uses a client server architecture. The Docker client talks to the Docker daemon, which does the heavy lifting of building, running and distributing your Docker containers. The Docker client and daemon can run on the same system, or you can connect a Docker client to a remote Docker daemon. The Docker client and daemon communicate using a REST API over Unix sockets or a network interface, which I have explained. Another Docker client is Docker Compose, which lets you work with applications consisting of a set of containers. So this is the architecture diagram. And what is the Docker daemon? The Docker daemon, which is Docker D, listens for Docker API requests and manages Docker objects such as images, containers, network and volumes. A daemon can also communicate with other daemon to manage Docker services, which I explained how your Docker daemon do the heavy works, how it listens Docker API request and manages Docker objects. And what is the Docker client? The Docker client, which is Docker, is the primary way that many Docker users interact with Docker. So this is the primary way how you will interact with Docker daemon. When you use commands such as Docker run, the client sends this command to Docker D, which I have shown you, which carries them out. The Docker command uses Docker API. The Docker client can communicate with more than one daemon. So this is also one of the features. One Docker client can talk to multiple daemons. Alright, then what is Docker Desktop? Docker Desktop is an easy to install application for your Mac, Windows or Linux environment that enables you to build and share containerized applications and microservices. So this is an application for you to share and containerize your application and microservices. Docker Desktop includes the Docker daemon, the Docker client, Docker Compose, Docker Content Trust, Kubernetes, and Credential Help. So this all has included in the Docker Desktop, which is client, daemon, Compose, and Kubernetes and Credential Helper. Alright. Then we will see what is Docker registries. Docker registry stores Docker images. Docker Hub is a public registry that anyone can use, and this is the place where all the images is stored. So this is a public registry that anyone can use, and by default Docker uses Docker Hub for the registry. You can even run your own private registry. When you use the Docker pull or Docker run commands, Docker pulls that required images from the configured registry. When you use the Docker push command, Docker pushes your image to your configured registry. Then Docker objects. When you use Docker, you are creating or using images, containers, network, volumes, plugins, and other objects. This section is a brief overview of some of those objects. So we'll see what are Docker objects. So images. An image is a read-only template with instruction of creating a Docker container. Often an image is based on another image with some additional customization. For example, so we have seen that image is kind of a blueprint. So often an image is based on another image. We always need a base image for an another image, right? So this is what it is saying. For example, you may build an image which is based on Ubuntu image but installs the Apache web server and your application, as well as the configuration details needed to make your application run. So we must have a base image. On top of that, we can install a web server and we can copy our application. So whatever is needed to run an application, we will always use a base image. Then on top of that, we'll add our own steps. You might create your own images, or you might only use those created by others and published in a registry. To build your own image, you create a Docker file with a simple syntax for defining the steps needed to create the image and run it. Each instruction in a Docker file creates a layer in the image. When you change the Docker file and rebuild the image, only those layers which have changed are built. This is part of what makes images so lightweight, small, and fast when compared to other virtualization technology. The thing is, Docker uses layer in the image. So when you change something in Docker file and rebuild the image, only those layers which is affected, those will be changed and those will be rebuilt. So this part of what makes images so lightweight, right? So this is the thing why images are lightweight and small, because it reuses the cache and reuses the layer. So what are containers? A container is a runnable instance of an image. You can create, start, stop, move, or delete a container using the Docker API or CLI. So using the Docker CLI, which is Docker client, we can create, start, stop, and move or delete the container. You can connect a container to one or more networks, attach storage to it, or even create a new image based on its current state. By default, a container is relatively well isolated from other containers and its host machine. You can control how isolated a container's network, storage, or other underlying subsystems are from other containers or from the host machine. So we can define how we needed the isolation. We can define that. A container is defined by its image as well as any configuration options you provide to it when you create or start. When a container is removed, any changes to its state that are not stored in persistent storage disappear. So when we will not use persistent storage, then if you remove the container, then the configuration or the data will be erased. Then here is some example of Docker run command. The following commands run as a Ubuntu container, attaches interactively to your local command line session and runs bin bash. So here is a command docker run -i-t ubuntu bin bash. When you run this command, the following happens, assuming you are using the default registry configuration. So what will happen if we run this command, which is docker run -i hyphen t, then Ubuntu as an image, then we'll directly go to bin bash and run bin bash, right? So if you don't have the Ubuntu image locally, Docker pulls it from your configured registry. Why? Because we are using the default registry configuration. So Docker pulls it from your configured registry as though you had run Docker pull Ubuntu manually. We didn't use Docker pull, but still when we run Docker run, it will pull the image primarily. What happens next? Docker creates a new container as though you had run a Docker container create command manually. So then it will run a new container. It will create a new container. So Docker allocates a read-write file system to the container as its final layer. Then what happens? Docker allocates a read-write file system. It for to run an instance we need a file system, right? So that's what Docker does after that, after running the container, but as a final layer. This allows a running container to create or modify files and directories in its local file system. Then Docker creates a network interface to connect the container to the default network. Then we need some network inside the container, so Docker creates a network interface to the container. Since you didn't specify any network option, this includes assigning an IP address to the container. By default, containers can connect to external networks using the host machine network connection. Then Docker start the container and executes bin bash because the container is running interactively and attached to your terminal due to -i and -t flags. You can provide input using your keyboard while Docker logs the output to your terminal. As we are using -i -t, so Docker will execute bin bash path in our terminal. When you run exit to terminate the bin bash command, the container stops but isn't removed. You can start it again or remove it, but the container will stop but it will not remove. We can remove it explicitly or we can start it again. That's a wrap for this session. We just covered what Docker really is. We explored the Docker platform and understood how its architecture and core objects like images, containers, and volumes. Volumes we didn't see, but we'll see further. But I assume you understood how, like, what is an image, what is a container, and how these work together to make containerization so powerful. Now you should have a solid understanding of how Docker operates behind the scene and what happens when you build and run the containers. So in the next session we'll see some practical steps. We'll move closer to the our real workshop, but theories are also important, right? So that's why I'm covering these theories. That's all for today, so make sure you are ready, because from here on it's going to get even more exciting. If you are finding this course helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to DevOps Doc for more DevOps deep dives. So see you in the next one. Till then, bye bye, take care.